the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. In previous videos, you've said that you believe science, particularly the evolution, old earth, new earth discussions, and the Bible are complementary, not conflicting. Can you go into more detail on that? Well, absolutely. Now, there are multiple models to defend what we call creationism in Scripture. On one side of the proverbial equation, there's theistic evolution. On the other side, there's what we call the gap theory, and a myriad of ones in between. This isn't really a discussion of whether or not, as a Bible believer, we believe in the creation narrative. The question is, how do we discuss these almost apparent discrepancies that the scientific community oftentimes brings us, the Bible-believing community? Rather than going into Genesis chapter 1 and a dialogue of what specific words and phrases mean, I really believe the way to reconcile this issue is found in Genesis chapter 6 through chapter 9. It's what we call as Noah's flood, or the Noahic flood. Why is this so critical? Allow me to share with you just a variety of things that the Bible describes as being different on the other side of the flood than on this side, and how that pertains to this question. Let's begin just simply with the atmosphere. Prior to Noah's flood, according to Scripture, it had not rained upon the earth. After the flood, we don't just have rain, we have horrendous storms, etc. Before the flood, we have humanity living in excess not just of 100 or 200 years, but we have those living 900 years, 800 years, 700 years, an incredible time span. And on this side, we just had an individual pass away, the oldest person on earth, currently at 135. Incredible, but nothing even near that. In fact, Noah was 500 years old when he built the famous ark. How does that address the question? Well, many of those that study this issue reconcile this apparent discrepancy by saying that the world that existed pre-Noah's flood is so different atmospherically, even possibly genetically, humanly, in regards to lifespans, the animal kingdom, all those different things, that anytime you go back on the other side of the flood, which would be several thousand years ago, and you attempt to date or to, shall we say, determine the date of a subject matter, whether it be a rock, an age, whatever, that it skews it because we can't look at it through the same lens. Now, allow me to give you just a sample analysis of this. Some years ago, one of these ministries that focuses on this study of Scripture took what you and I would call just a rock you would get out of a riverbed. They broke it up into 10 or 12 different pieces. They sent it to a variety of laboratories all over the world and says, tell us how old this rock is. Well, they got data from everything from a couple hundred years old to a couple of billion years old. Why is that? Because you and I today, we date the physical world based on a carbon-14 dating. And if the world pre-Noah's flood wasn't based on the same system, as oftentimes these views perceive, then we cannot take today's metric and apply it to pre-Noah's. So, all that being said, I do believe there is a reconciliation with Scripture with what appears to be, quote, old evolutionary. That flood is not just about the judgment of sin on humanity and the 8 people who survived. It's a whole lot more to it than just a lot of water. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.